Hey everyone, welcome. So today, we're talking about a plant that is, let's be honest, probably the biggest enemy of anyone who loves a perfect green lawn. Yep, we're talking about the common dandelion. But what if I told you this so-called weed might just be one of the most underrated plants hiding in plain sight?
I mean, have you ever really looked at one? Because for like centuries, people have seen a whole lot more. They saw medicine, they saw food, they even saw a replacement for their morning coffee. So yeah, let's peel back the layers on this surprisingly fascinating little plant.
So long before it was a lawn care nightmare, the dandelion was a big deal in folk medicine all over the world. We're going to trace its journey from being this ancient trusted remedy to something you can just, grab off the shelf at the grocery store.
Okay, first things first. We got to be clear that not all dandelion tea is the same thing. When you hear people talk about it, they're usually talking about one of two versions. There's the tea you make from the leaves, and then there's a completely different kind of drink made from the roasted roots of the plant.
And this is where it gets kind of cool. That roasted root tea, well, when you roast the roots until they're this deep, dark brown, and then steep them in hot water, you get this rich, bold drink that tastes a lot like coffee, but, and this is the key, it's totally caffeine-free. You can even make it yourself.
All right, so all those traditional uses are great, but what does the science say? What are the actual health benefits? In this next part, we're going to dig into the evidence and see how dandelions might affect everything from water weight to how your stomach feels. Let's start with maybe the most famous effect. If you're ever feeling kind of puffy or bloated, dandelion tea could be your friend because it's a diuretic. And there was this one key study where people drank just 2 cups of tea made from the leaves, and it made them pee more. And that can really help reduce that uncomfortable water weight. For hundreds of years, dandelion root was known in folk medicine as a liver tonic. People believed it could help clean out the liver and maybe even help with liver issues by getting more bile flowing. And you know what? Modern science is actually starting to look into this. Now, it's still early, but a study back in 2017 found that these special compounds in dandelions called polysaccharides, well, they might actually be good for your liver function. So it kind of gives some real scientific backing to that old liver tonic idea. And it's not just the liver. Dandelion root tea has this long history of being used to help out the whole digestive system. Now, it's super important to say a lot of this is anecdotal, stories passed down. But traditionally, people used it to boost their appetite, calm down minor stomach aches, and even to help with constipation.
Okay, so let's shift gears and look ahead a little. Beyond all the traditional stuff, scientists are now exploring some really fascinating, though I have to say still very preliminary, ideas for what dandelion extract could do.
Check this out. This is pretty wild. A study in Korea discovered that dandelion extract might work in a way that's really similar to a weight loss drug called Orlistat. It seems like they both block an enzyme that our bodies use to break down fat. Now, does this mean dandelion tea is some magic weight loss drink? No way. But it's definitely interesting enough to make researchers want to look into it a lot more. And this next bit of research is maybe the most surprising of all. Scientists are looking at dandelion root extract for possible anti-cancer properties. Now, let me be crystal clear here. This is very, very early research. It's being done in a lab, and it uses a super concentrated extract, not the tea you drink. But the findings are just wow. Studies have shown it can actually cause cell death, basically telling cancer cells to self-destruct in melanoma and pancreatic cancer cells, all while leaving the healthy cells alone. It's a huge discovery that obviously needs a lot more research.
Here's another cool little combo. When you pair dandelion with an herb called uva ursi, it might help prevent UTIs. The thinking here is that it's a real 1-2 punch. The uva ursi has antibacterial properties, and then the dandelion, being a diuretic, helps flush everything out of your system more often. Pretty clever.
Okay, so before you grab a shovel and head out to the yard, we need to talk about some really important safety stuff. Just like with any herb, it's not for everybody, and you absolutely need to know the risks. First off, some people are just plain allergic to dandelions. More importantly, though, it can mess with certain medications. Since it's a diuretic, taking it with other diuretics can be too much. It can also interact with lithium and even some antibiotics like Cipro.
This right here is the single most important thing to remember from this whole conversation. If you are taking any prescription medications at all, you have to talk to your doctor before you even think about drinking dandelion tea. Seriously, safety first, always.
All right, with all those warnings out of the way, let's get practical. If you've talked to your doctor, you know it's safe for you, and you want to give it a try, here's how you can turn those yellow flowers in your yard into a cup of tea.
You know, it's actually pretty simple. For the flowers and the leaves, you just give them a good wash and let them steep in hot water for about 15 minutes. The roots take a little more effort. You got to wash them really well, chop them up, and then roast them for about 2 hours. After that, you just steep a couple of teaspoons. Either way, you strain it out and you're good to go.
And this is the #1 golden, non-negotiable rule. Do not ever use dandelions that have been sprayed with any kind of chemical. If you are not 100% positive that your yard is free from pesticides or herbicides, just buy the tea from the store. It's not worth the risk.
Which brings us right back to where we started. The next time you see one of those little yellow flowers popping up, what are you going to see? A pesky weed ruining your lawn? Or a tough little plant that's packed with history, a bunch of potential benefits, and a whole lot of surprising secrets? Some to think about. Thanks for joining me.